defence. Wilton makes a run ahead of it. Bergkamp suddenly changed pace through the centre. It's Bergkamp! That's magnificent! The move, and then this, which left Dabby's ass totally stranded.
Hello, dear listener and viewer, and obviously people doing neither, and welcome to Danny Gets Mugged Off by the Internet because I forgot to do the We Are Live bit, and so nobody knows, and then I clicked send and I didn't want to know. And then Facebook goes, are you sure you want to post this live on Facebook? If you work for Facebook, please chuck yourself in the river because I don't need to do a post. And then you go, are you sure you want to do that post? Do you want to delay it for later? No, that's not how it works. I want to do it now. Twitter doesn't ask me if I'd like to do it in 6 months. So I don't need you to. With me to talk about Man United 0, the Arsenal 1, is Mr. Mike Hertz, my third favourite Mexican. How you doing, Treacle?
You know 2 other Mexicans? I'm baffled. I thought I was special, Danny.
No, I'm saving room. I like the bloke, the 619 wrestler. What's his name?
Rey Mysterio.
Hey,
so
little Ray.
You got Rey Mysterio
pals.
and Eddie Guerrero, and then me. Okay, that's not bad company, all things considered.
Yeah, especially as 50% of them two are no longer with us. They're putting Boston back crabs on baby Jesus in heaven. So yeah, that's nice. How are you? You've got a lovely hat you've got there. Can people buy it anywhere?
So when I designed it, I spoke to the guy that made it for me, and I told him, hey, do you ship to the UK? Because I said, if by any chance somebody sees me wearing it on a pod, I will send them your link and have them buy it from you. And you are more than welcome to use the design. It's right here. I designed the design myself.
Do that again. I was busy allowing BX's swear words. Go on, there you go. It's very subtle. It's very good. I suppose the only thing you were worried about is because the end of the cannon is infringing on the circle. But there again, if you did it so there was a gap, then the circle would be huge.
Yes. So I designed it for funsies because I started getting bantered on my other podcast because I kept on wearing my Los Angeles Dodgers hat, and the Bowie Chelsea links started coming up. So I decided to myself, you know what, I'm going to buy an Arsenal hat. Then I started looking around, and then it turns out there's a lot of shit out there. There's not a lot of like neat design. It was kind of crappy.
Did you check Gav at She-War?
No, he has me blocked. Unfortunately, I did not.
He has you blocked?
He has me blocked, yeah.
What did you do?
I said, and I quote, small dick energy. One night where he was, I guess he was on the bottle saying not too fond and nice things of Americans.
Oh, he's given up now, didn't he? He's just a year sober, about 3 weeks ago.
There you go.
Yeah. I shall get him to unblock you. Consider yourself unblocked, young man.
There you go. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
Let's get on with the show because it was a bit of a boring game, but we have got some things to say. So hopefully there'll be people here because, quite frankly, I'd rather be out the front. I went out the front. All 5 of my cats were out the front with me. There we go. Sitting in the sun. Now the sun is slightly gone down a bit, but you should all be outside with your friends and family like I was yesterday. I was at a pub yesterday. I was in the beer garden at a pub with Sean. We shared half a cider. And then her cousin, my nephew, turned up and his girlfriend. And then all I did for the next hour was tell them, don't get a house, don't get a mortgage, don't move in together, don't go to university, live your life. Because when you're 30, you'll have regrets. Anyway, talking about 30 and having regrets, Brady's banana. The dream is still alive. Come on, you Gunners, Englishmen in Canada. Time to hope and dream. Pete Little, the team did well. Hold on. See, what you people don't realise, on the right-hand side, we can highlight all of your messages. And if you put your mouse over the message goes away. I was going to say fucks off, but I won't swear. It goes away. And so I was reading Pete's one, moved the mouse over it, and then it disappeared. Right. Pete says, the team did all that was required. 3 points and relying on Spurs and the Hammers. and lots of numbers. Good result. Should have improved goal difference. That is a point. But winning when not at our best has been a great plus this season. Can't rely on Spurs. So what will be. Jolly good. I'm going to read on the big screen now. Rudy says, "Hey guys, this was hard to watch for every Arsenal fan. I couldn't partly watch the game because I suffer from high blood pressure." Poor Rudy.
Poor man.
Pete says, "Just seen that our first away win, United for some years. We lost the last two, and then the one before that. I read it last night. In 2020, we beat them 1-0, I think." Pete is there. Must admit, I did not enjoy that game until the final whistle. Was waiting for the sucker punch. I thought that when Anthony came on, but the boys did it, and that was all we asked. Rudy, we did really everything, but it's not in our hands. Sadly, 15 wins, 1 draw in 17 games for City. Oh, for us, yeah, for us, you can't argue with that. Zaid is there. Oi oi. Tom Andrew is there. Oi, oi. Boy 10. Did anybody predict 5-1? I have a bone to pick with them if they did. No, I couldn't be able to do a preview show. Everyone's away or busy or ill. It's sunny days, isn't it? People don't want to be staying in. Football is suffering, Rudy. Who actually watched the Spuds? 115 breaches. I can't stomach it. That is going to be a big, big game. Peter says, "Did not play well, but the difference this season is we win some of those, unlike last season." I do actually need glasses. No, I'm not wearing them. Joshua Page, watching that made me sick. There's a lot of ill gooners out there. Grey out, man.
I totally sympathize because I could honestly tell you I was watching this game and even with the Northland Derby, even when we were up 3-0, I was uncomfortable. And United created a crap load of quarter shots, not even half chances, quarter chances. And even then, Danny, I kept on just thinking, oh, fuck, don't let it be Garnacho. Fuck, here comes Anthony. Oh, fuck. I couldn't escape it. And for the most part, throughout the entirety of the season, when we're up 1-0 because of our defense, I'm like, whatever. They're gonna amass 0.5 XG. I'm not worried about it at all. But Spurs and United, I think it's just the occasion of the game where I enjoyed about 40 seconds of celebrating Trossard goal, and then I hated the rest of the game. The entirety of the game. It's just and I thought to myself too is, man, if we were putting in this performance and West Ham was creating these chances, I might be able to just half snooze myself and just play on Twitter. But because it's United and it's a rivalry, maybe not as epic as it used to be because they are a bit of sleeping giants or fallen, however you want to say it. I did feel uncomfortable throughout the 90 plus minutes. I'm just, yay, Trossard scored, and then a bunch of holy shit in between until the final whistle. So I sympathize with the chat for sure.
It wasn't easy. Grayed out, man. Wish I could enjoy this, but I can't see a team whose fans will boo them if they score, beating Man City. We're going to talk about that in a minute because I've got a few words on that. Rudy, Arsenal cost me all my nerves today. BX is laughing because I had to approve his potty mouth. Ron Ree, who messaged me at half time and said, "How many tackles have we missed?" Great result. Our record is shocking and as is City's record at the Armitage Shanks Arena. Come on, you Spurs. Now I feel dirty. Josh has put, "Come on, you Spurs." Oh, Pete says, "Greetings down in the Mexican mic." Hello. Patrick Carlson from sunny Sweden is there. David Potter. Come on, you Gunners. Adam, I don't think I've seen your name before. I would have recognised that A with a gunner in the cannon in the middle. Spurs somehow get a draw at City. Then that final game will be a battle of us maintaining a superior goal difference. I'm eagerly awaiting Tuesday. Not confident, but let's see. Rudy says, "Arsenal undefeated versus the Big Six in the Premier League this season." They are. BX wants 3 puntos. Does he mean he wants 3 Fiat puntos? No, nobody needs that. Rudy, 10 matches, 6 wins, 4 draws, 0 defeats. Right. Oh, James is there.
There he
is. If you're not doing anything, James, feel free to come and join us. All I wanted was to go to you until the last day. I thought he said uni. I never make uni. Last day, I still feel like shit, but I'm much happier. Oh, he was ill. And that's why he didn't make the podcast. Anyone else whose name I haven't read out? James says, see your kidney stones on WhatsApp was less painful than watching that game. Oh, yeah. Des Moran. A win at Old Trafford is massive. How long are these guys online complaining that we didn't win 5-0 playing champagne football and actually watching football? I think that had more to do with the fact that Crystal Palace smashed them 4-0, Mike.
It has, well, that, and then I think even more so the fact that Manchester City beat Fulham 4-0, because we saw a lot of come on you Spurs, which I find to be like an amusing conversation, because there's so many people that will be like, you should never do that as an Arsenal fan, and I am a firm believer that I do not cut off my nose to spite my face. So if I need to celebrate a Spurs goal, meaning that they beat City, I will celebrate it because it's one step closer for the Arsenal potentially winning a championship. I don't care in that sense. Any supporter out there could feel free to call me a plastic if you like, but fully behind Spurs this Tuesday. How could you not? You can't say I'll forfeit the league just because I don't want to support Spurs, or I hope they don't win. So I was surprised to see, I'm going to say support, if you will, with all the come on you Spurs and Spurs. Spurs
I think that's tongue in cheek, isn't it?
I like the energy. I really do. But yeah, Desmoran, as far as the 5-0 thing, dude, there's certain games in which we're always going to struggle. And like it or not, I mean, it's still Old Trafford. I saw some crazy stat that in the last 10 or 15 years, we've accumulated less points at Old Trafford that we had at Anfield and the Etihad, which is pretty insane. So there's some grounds in which the team struggled, be it the atmosphere, be it whatever. I don't know what it is, man. It could be a psychological thing. But regardless of all of that, a 1-0 win, a tidy win, a Champions win ugly type of win, I would say. The fact that they got there, they knew the mission, they went there, executed brilliantly, kept United very, very low on shots. I think it's brilliant. It shows a lot of mentality. There's an interview floating around with Mikel Arteta from I don't know the time frame, but it just popped up on my timeline out of nowhere, and he was speaking about when he felt this team was ready to be champions. Now, that's pretty big because that tells us that, he got into year 1, year 2, he had no expectations. He's like, no, he realizes this team is not ready to be champions. And he said he started realizing that the maturity levels started of last season. And to be champions, you got to be this consistent. I mean, somebody said out there, right? It's the last 17 games. We've won the majority, drew 4, and we lost against Aston Villa. That's insane levels of consistency. It's up there with Manchester City levels of consistency. But unfortunately, we didn't start off the season as hot as they did. There was a lot of clamoring. There was a lot of makeshift things in the midfield, so things didn't pan out. But insane, man. I like I said, the fact that we made it to the very last day of the season and the title won't be decided until the very last season. I think if you said that to any Arsenal supporter 3 years ago, they would say you were out of your damn mind.
I mean, all those back-to-back 8 positions, everybody wanted Arteta out, and it was so many people refused to trust the process. And I'm not going, no, I was right, but the process did work, and it's important that did. And for us to have back-to-back runners-up in the Premier League, if things don't go to plan, all we have to do, Mr. Hertz, is win 1 game. They have to win 2. And if they don't win 2, then if they draw, then it's going to come down to goal difference. So they're going to go, well, scoring against Spurs, who are a decent team, who are in 5th. West Ham, they've had a decent win at the weekend. Who did West Ham beat? They beat Luton 3-1, who are down. And we are playing Everton, and Everton are on a bit of a run at the moment, which isn't good. But we're at home, and they're only at home for 1 of their 2. So many things. This is the last day of the season is going to be interesting, if nothing else.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the game a little bit. I have made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 notes. That's all I did. First one, 20th minute. the goal. The notes I made, feel free to jump in. I said, goal for Trossard. Onana under pressure from Havertz, who, and then Onana gets the ball and he kicks it out, goes all the way up down their left side. And then Saliba gets ahead to the ball. And then he headers it down for Ben White on the right on the touchline. He passes it down the right wing to Saka, who slides it forward and in a bit to Havertz, who runs at the United defence from the right as Trossard on the left-hand side is closing in. Havertz goes really, really deep, and I'm thinking, pass it, come on, pass it. And he waits for the perfect timing. And then he squares it to Trossard, and Casemiro's going anywhere nice in your holidays this year, lads? I've got some new flip-flops. I've got some sun. Oh, Trossard's next to me and he's put the ball in the back of the net. I've made a boo-boo. I used to play for Real Madrid, did you know? I've won Champions Leagues. Looked like he'd struggled to play for Barnet in the conference at the moment. Absolute joke of a goal. And he is going to get absolute pelters. Him, Raphael Varane, Martial. I mean, is there a bunch of players that cost so much money that are doing so little? I'll talk about that after the goal. Goal was wonderful, wasn't it?
It was a wonderful goal. Trossard is once again. I mean, he shoplifted that left wing position off of Martinelli because he's so clinical. He just has he's efficient, is what I'm going to say. He's very efficient, very clinical. He knows where to put. He doesn't have a lot of glamour to his game, but he's a tidy player. Kai Havertz once again providing an assist. He's been such a revelation at striker, and I am one of those guys that think that might change the transfer plans. You know, I know that everybody's clamoring for a striker that could score 20, but if you got Kai Havertz scoring whatever 12, 15 and providing 10 assists, it's great. He's such a great outlet. He's always there. He's combative. He's tall. He knows how to win balls. A little bit further in the first half, there was a moment in which he just ran behind the defense, and it was just him and Onana. I missed exactly why Paul Tierney stopped play and made us replay the goal kick, but he's always there. He's always wide awake. He's always making runs. He's such a brilliant player up there, and hopefully we never see him in the midfield again, but we'll see how that plays out. On the Casemiro thing, man, I'm baffled of how much of a cliff this man fell off. I was saying on my other podcast that I'm really used to young players going to United and ruining their careers, but I didn't know that an elite footballer at the peak of his powers could go to United and just fall off a cliff. Pretty flippin' impressive. And, you mentioned Casemiro up until the Kai Havertz pass. He was like trailing behind that back four by like 5 or 6 yards. He's the guy that played Kai Havertz into play at the beginning. You could just see the entire 3 out of the 4 running in line, and Casemiro was just like trotting, just like barely moving backwards. And the replay, it's so bad, Danny. It's so bad. Like, you just see Casemiro and you're like, fuck you. It gives you the sense that he really does not give a flying flip, to say the very least, because for him to show that level of unawareness, I'll say.
Has he ever really cared, though? He's always come across as a player that's gone, I'm a Real Madrid legend, possibly. Yeah. This millennium, probably one of their best players. I'm a brilliant player for Brazil. I've won everything in the game. Step aside, young man, I'm here, and don't worry, everyone fall about me. And it's, quite frankly, most of his career has either been sent off or failure, hasn't it?
Yeah, his entire stint at United was absolutely insane. More so, you know what's crazy about that, Danny, is it's not, maybe there's a hint of not caring, but like they still interview Carlo Ancelotti and he still says, I borderline cried when Casemiro told me he wanted to leave. So he was very much still part of that midfield. I mean, he might have got reduced minutes similar to Modric because the inclusion of Jude Bellingham, but he was still within the Real Madrid plans. This isn't a player that failed and left. This was a player that said, hey, let me go try something new. And maybe he's a quality footballer, Danny, but maybe he came a few years too late to the English Premier League because the levels of that is pretty insane.
Matt D'Souza says, Mike Hurts in the house, without doubt the best Arsenal Mike fan out there.
I will take that all day long, Matthew.
Where's Part-Time Feinberg, as he's known in the Arsenal podcasting circles? Where is he? He's over getting drunk, watching Owen, MMA, his brother. Was it his brother? He was MMA fighting, wrestling on the floor. Did you see that video?
No, I didn't see that.
It's on Twitter.
Now, I'll take this opportunity to ask you, what is a stag? What do you guys call stag? Because I was told Mike was in Spain with Owen for his stag party. What the hell is that?
It's horrible. It's where a load of blokes go. You get maybe 10 of your best mates, and then in this country I've never been on one. They'll go to a seaside town like Skegness or Blackpool or Southend. If you've got more money, you'll go to Prague or you'll go to Amsterdam or wherever they've gone in Spain. Just basically a load of blokes going out, they're getting very drunk, acting like arseholes. And Hindus are the same sort of thing, but the women all dress there. The bride-to-be will dress up in something. She'll have like a learner plate, big L for when you're driving. You have a learner plate, and then they'll have all have matching T-shirts that have their names. It's very, very chavvy, very corny. I've been on one, Sexy Frank's. Me and 5 of his mates went round his house and had pizza. That's what I call a stag do. But no, okay. I would never go. Bachelor party, Matt says.
Yeah, when you started describing it, I'm like, okay, it's a bachelor party. Yeah, he is getting married, so that all adds up.
Yeah, don't do that either, because if you're dating them, you can leave them. You marry them, there's paperwork involved.
What have we learned from Danny? Don't buy homes.
Yeah, don't get well unless you're loaded. Don't get involved until you're 30. Like I said to Sean, look, she's paying 1,500 quid a month at the moment for her car, internet, shopping, blah, blah, electricity, gas, renting her lovely 2-bed apartment, ground floor, wonderful. I said, what have you got out of this, dear? It's just cost you 18 grand for the last year that she's not been working. Papa's been helping. But she's starting teaching again next week. She's going back into teaching as a cover teacher. Said, you've got nothing out of it. What could you could have spent the last 3 years bumming around Europe, bumming around the world, but she's off to Cambodia again this year and maybe Australia. So good fucking riddance. Get back to football, they say, before they're skipping this bit. Right, so we're 1-0 up. Casemiro's a joke. And then the rest of the game is very much of a muchness. The longer the game went... Huh?
The rest of the game is a blur. Nobody cares.
I was keeping because I was watching IPTV. I am about 60 seconds behind. So other people in our group were watching it live. Poor old Melvin was struggling to find a feed. Melvin, I've told you how we can get this done. And so I didn't want to read the group too much. So at halftime, I had a beady little look, and it's Partey this, Partey's rubbish, Partey's too slow. He's ruining the whole. Was Partey really that bad for you? Because I noticed in the second half, there was at one point we'll come to later where he couldn't really be bothered. But is Partey a problem for you? Have you got an understanding? Have you got a beady eye on why Arteta keeps playing him? Because he's gone from he's not better than playing Jorginho there. He's not better than playing Rice there. Why is he playing him? And he's definitely not staying next season, is he?
So you're talking to the Partey fan club here. So I am a massive believer that our best midfield is Declan Rice, Partey, and Odegaard. I think what you sacrifice a little bit when playing Partey versus Jorginho or Declan Rice there is defensive quality. You know, he's a little bit open. I think the second half, what you're referring to, is a turnover that he had that ultimately created a shot. I feel like he's, you know, I'm gonna say the Z word. I think he's very much like Zinchenko for Partey, in which most of the times the pros outweighs the cons. So I just think he's very helpful in transition. And you know, what does Arteta say all the time? We don't want to control. He says we don't want to control the game. We want to dominate the game. He's very front-footed. So I've been waiting for Partey, and I've been having this discussion a lot this season, and people were like, it's a mentality thing. And I was like, no, Partey must not be fit, because if he was fit, I'm 100% sure Declan Rice, Partey, and Odegaard are going to be the central midfielder. And sure enough, in the last, I want to say 5 games now, if I'm not mistaken, that Partey's been available, 100% fit. He has started, and he dethroned Jorginho, which, you know, he's no pushover. Jorginho has been providing great performances for us throughout the season. But as soon as Partey was fit, he gets the start. As far as him staying, I doubt it unless we offload probably both Vieira and Smith Rowe. I just don't. And if he sticks around, Danny, I don't think he's going to be a starter at this point. I think he's a really good, high quality very heavy on experience type of player that could probably stick around. But I would say going into next season, depending on him as a starter, that's a little bit of a suicide decision, man, because his availability very similar to Tomiyasu. We all love Tomiyasu, but we only get to love him for 15 games if at most the season, because he's not really available. So and as far as Declan Rice, man, I can't tell you what Declan Rice's best position is, whether 6 or 8. But for the midfield that we currently have, I would much rather Declan Rice be at left 8 than Kai Havertz. I just provides more balance. He helps out on the left back. I even think he helps Martinelli get the best out of him, similar to Trossard. And I like him at left 8. So it'd be really interesting to see if we're going to buy a 6 or an 8 this summer. But if I had a wild prediction, I'm going to say 3 if you want to include Oneni. But I think Smith Rowe and Vieira might be leaving the club, and we might be purchasing 2 midfielders. That's my my hot take for the summer, if you will, sir.
Lovely. Penalty call, 35th minute. Ahmad makes a run across the edge of the box. He goes over. Replay shows at first he stood on Saliba's foot, and then you see it from another angle, and you realise Partey was sat on his arse with his legs out, and that's what he tripped over as well. So it was like a staggered fall. Should they have given a penalty for that? If it was the other way around for an Arsenal, would you have said that should have been a penalty?
No, I wouldn't have. And just to prove a little bit that I'm not just strictly because it's Arsenal, I don't even really care for the Kai Havertz penalty from the last game versus Bournemouth. I'm not a big fan of that type of penalties. So I think what it was is a dive slightly. He was going to ground. He did step on Saliba's foot, but I just think there was a collision of a lot of bodies, and he said, "Hey, I'm in or around the box, and maybe I'm going to be really close, so I might be able to have the opportunity to go down." And he milked it, Danny, because you saw the replay. Yes. There was no actual contact, no aggression towards him, but he stayed on the ground, milking it for as much as he could. So I think no, I wouldn't even call that a soft penalty. I would have considered that a really bad call if that would have been given, just because it just seems like it was a collision of bodies meeting. I'm sure if you Google search Erik ten Hag right now, he would be telling you that Garnacho was onside in the last game and that this was a penalty, but not for me. I'll tell you that much.
Jolly good. Just looking at how many likes we've got here. We've got a like from Niku Kips, which is very nice. Thank you for your question, Pete. I'm saving that for later. Boy 10 says, I'm glad we have divers now. We've been done by divers so often through the years. The league can suck it. Good.
I always sympathize with that.
Nothing left now for me to know. And then all of a sudden, a few things happen in a row. 76th minute. Partey, wow. Couldn't even keep up with McTominay. I think it was McTominay. And let him run off. Now is that a part of match fitness, or was that because he'd been running around the whole game, or there's a 76th minute? But that was very poor from Partey. Just stopped and let the defence get on with him rather than chasing him back. And I thought, good job United is shit, because any other team, they might have, because they could have had a chance then to score, couldn't they?
Yeah, I think this is going to sound mean slightly, but 76 minute, it plays a part. Partey is still getting into his own groove, but McTominay is like a physical specimen, man. He has a massive engine. He just so happened to be not great on the technical side of football. So, and like if we're going on, like we're matching up physical versus physical, I do think that McTominay would probably have the upper hand on Thomas Partey for the most part in a sprint. So it didn't surprise me much. 70-something minutes, 78th minute. So yeah, man. Again, I'm admittedly, chat, I'm a huge Partey sympathizer, but I do think, all jokes aside, that McTominay has what we refer to over here in the States as farmer strength, where, he looks lanky, but he's a very strong, powerful player. So it didn't surprise me that he beat him at a sprint, but I can't let this opportunity while we're talking about McTominay pass by without saying that Odegaard sent him for some grocery shopping in the first half as well. My God, dude, I don't know if Odegaard's not voted, I know title plays a big part, Danny, but I'll say this: if we manage to win and Odegaard's not the guy that wins the Player of the Season, then fuck me, dude. I don't know football at all because he's such a brilliant player, man.
Well, you saw that. I always forget his name. Rodri isn't even in the choices for Player of the Year. So I said on the podcast, I don't know if you heard it because I know no one listens to AVW anymore. No, there's too many podcasts. I mean, you're to blame for that. But I said that. What was I saying? Completely gone.
You were talking about Rodri. I think you were going to say that whole selection of Player of the Season is a load of.
No, I said what we should do. There should be 11 players, a starting 11, a 4-4-2 of Premier League players, and then you get to pick one of that 11 from the best 11 because goalkeepers are never going to get picked in that, and so they go a whole season and go and get bugger all out of it, and then you wouldn't be able to go. Well, we've got 5 strikers in the thing, or we've got 4 centre backs, or however it goes. 8 players. Why 8? Have 11. Have the best 11, and then you get to vote from that.
Okay, so. Per position, best left back, best center defender. Best, okay, yeah, I would agree with that.
Because a fullback is never going to get it, nor is a goalkeeper. They're not even going to get a mention, are they? They're not going to get nominated.
It's very much like, and I've used this conversation before for the Ballon d'Or. Like, excuse me, but Maldini, spent the better of 30 years being one of the best defenders to ever walk this fucking planet. Maldini.
Maldini. We said Maldini.
No, yeah. He spent, the better part of 30 years battling.
So did his dad. So did his granddad. And so are both of his sons looking brilliant.
He went. You got to understand the generations. And I'm massive on longevity here, but this man defended versus Maradona.
Yeah.
He defended versus Brazilian Ronaldo. He defended versus Portugal Ronaldo. He defended versus Messi.
Ibrahimovic.
This man lasted like 3 generations worth of footballers as they came and went.
Didn't he retire at 39 or something? And even then, he was still one of the best in the side because he moved from left back to centre back, didn't he?
Yeah, the last couple of years of it. Yeah, he partnered up with Nesta. But anyways, to your point, I'm a massive believer in that because you could be look. David Raya, I know he splits opinions because I know Ramsdale still has a really big fan base out there, but Golden Glove with 4 or 5 less games than most other goalkeepers because the 3 that he missed at the beginning of the season, the 2 that he missed versus Brentford, and he clinched the Golden Glove. It deserves some type of merit, right, to keep that many. And you could say our defense helps. Of course it helps. But to your point, a flippin' goalkeeper could concede whatever, get a Golden Glove and like have 30 clean sheets. But there's a player that scored 25 goals. So who gives a hoot about the goalkeeper? So it's always been a little bit of a popularity contest in my opinion. And most of the times goals and assists gets more applause than anything else.
Just
I agree.
I sent that to Mike a little while ago. Inter Milan have now got their second star. Just leave that on there for a little bit. He's holding back the tears. Champions again.
Just drinking more beer is what I'm doing. Help me out with the pain.
Yes. Right. Where are we up to? 78th minute. Straight after the Partey thing, let McTominay go. Martinelli, again, so you see, Martinelli needs to look at what Trossard does. Trossard doesn't have the skills. He doesn't have the pace. He doesn't have any of that stuff that Martinelli has loads of. But what Trossard does is he is clinical, he is lethal, and he is decisive when he decides to do something. Martinelli runs down the left-hand side, got past someone else, and then decided to stop running and then walk, and then decided to run again through the whole of the box. And then by the time he must have taken 2 or 3 touches too many, didn't he? And he needs to believe in himself a little bit more because he's lost his place. Starting lineup plays to Trossard already. And Trossard is 28, 29. So Martinelli's got plenty of time to learn off him, but he needs to be more decisive, doesn't he? Because it happened later on in the second half as well. Made a break, didn't really make the most of it.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to what I was saying about Trossard being more clinical. And you were right; he's 29.
But Trossard's not a better player, though, is he? That's the thing. If you had to mark all of his abilities out of 10, Martinelli's the better player, but Trossard is the one that produces.
He puts the ball in the net. I mean, that's like it's kind of what I say about City. It feels so hopeless waiting for them to lose because they're so flippin' clinical. It's like they have a ton of Trossard on their team. So
every one of their bloody players turns into a Trossard when needed.
So okay, so by the way, Danny, I tried highlighting it and then I realized I can't highlight it. I can't highlight comments myself because I'm visiting. But Patrick Collison says Martinelli has turned into Mudryk. Dude, that sounds very harsh, but also very close to the truth. And essentially, last season, Martinelli was scoring for fun, but to your point, Danny, he had that glow and that belief that I could shoot from outside the box and it'll probably go in, right? Now he's doing that thing where he's trying to dribble himself into like an impossible position in order to let off a shot. So I would say this: if Trossard received the ball at that point, I would be more confident that he would have been a little bit closer to the goal line and let go of that shot to the first post instead of doing what Martinelli did, dribbling inwards. It was a good shot nonetheless. He managed to get it between 2-3 United defenders' bodies. He forced the save, which is good, but yeah, there's something off about him, and it's really difficult. He's also, what is he, 22? And I'll say this, that there are substantially more inconsistent 22-year-olds than consistent Saka levels 22-year-olds. At that age, it's very common, I'm going to say, to go up and down in form. So he's not down and out. He still has his space in the squad, obviously. I'm not a big believer that, you got to sell him now that he didn't hit double digits or whatever it was. But he just lacks a little bit of consistency or lacks a little bit of confidence, I'll say. I remember, was it Chelsea where he could have made it 6-0 and the ball fell at his feet? And you're thinking, we're up 5-0. He has space. He has no pressure in the world, and he still just rushes the shot, and it goes wide. And you kind of are left with that feeling. You're like, it's like he doesn't feel that the ball is going to go in ever. Like, it's kind of like he's doubting himself. But we'll see, man. He's only 22. He's not a bad
23 next month
imagination, but all he needs is a slight bit of confidence, and he'll be guns blazing again, I'm sure.
I've made it so you can highlight people's messages now. Looking at he's played 172 games for the Arsenal, scored 41 goals. There is definitely something up with him because last season, Premier League, 36 games, 15 goals. Very, very good. Maybe even overproduced last season because you're not meant to get wingers that are going to score you 15 Premier League goals. This season, 33 games, 6 goals. I don't know if Trossard coming in has put him off of his stride rather than because when you bring someone in to compete with your position, you either give up or you get better. And he's definitely not got better. But he's 23 in June. We still so many good years we can have with him because Trossard isn't going to be at Arsenal for the next 3 or 4 seasons because what he relies on, as we saw from the likes of Limpar, Marwood, any other ones that like that, they don't stay for that long. When you bring them in the middle of their career, they come in, stay for 2, 3, 4 years, and then they leave. So hopefully he'll learn from him.
Oh, I thought I was muted. Yeah, I'm sure he will. Like I said, being 22 and inconsistent is not a rarity in football. I will say that. So like he has plenty time to grow. Trossard, for better or worse, he is going to fade out eventually from the starting 11, or he's going to go down in history. We were discussing this on NAP, as I like to call it for short.
Not another Arsenal podcast.
Thank you, I appreciate that. We were discussing this on NAP that he's like a Ljungberg / Wilter type player for us thus far, where starts a few regular amount of games, comes in as a superstar regular amount of games, and he's carving out a nice little niche in our squad, and he's a really decisive, useful player. So I think both of the players complement each other fairly well. They're both fairly different as far as the wingers go. I said just Martinelli just needs to put his head down, relax, and just take a breather, and I'm sure he'll come into form again. Like I said, last season, he was on fire because he had that type of feeling in which wherever I shoot from, I'm going to create. And I think he was one of the highest players on our squad per shots, like shots per 90. So he just needs to get back in form. I'm sure he will. Well, he'll go to Brazil. I think he's been called up. I forgive me if I'm wrong. Bulgarian Gunnar, thank you so much. Love you too, brother.
Drago.
Yeah, he'll come good. There's no reason. He's just having a bad patch of form, and Trossard's having a great patch in form. Combined also, Danny, that we're only playing once a week. So there's far less scope for or need to rotate the squad. If we were in Champions, I think the squad would be used a little bit different. And I think this is a massive contributing part of why Partey has been starting for the last 5 games. If we were playing, Champions League football still, I think we would see Jorginho getting a lot more minutes, Martinelli playing a lot more minutes, Zinchenko even possibly taking some minutes off of Tierney. Sorry, not Tierney. I was Google searching Tierney today because of the grocery bag thing. What bag was it? Was it Winco? Tesco.
Tesco, which stands for, people call it Tesco's because they're idiots. You don't pluralize it. It stood for Ted's Company. I think it was TEDS. And then CO for company. It was the branding.
I was Google searching that image, so I got Tierney on my mind. But Tomiyasu is who I was referred to. But meanwhile, on current form, there is zero justifying dropping Trossard. That's the other thing. So you can't play a player because he's low on confidence because you want him to get confidence. At 1 game a week, you play whoever's on form. And right now, Trossard has been proven that he's been more than on form. So long may it continue, man. Like I said, final game of the season. It's really nice that we got this far. And he's been starting for the last 3-4 games, if I'm not mistaken, along with Partey.
Avon says, some people aren't ready to hear the truth. Preach about Martinelli and how responsible he might be for our exit from the Champions League. And first goal we conceded against Villa. I have struggled to remember today's game. There's no way I'm going to remember any of that lot.
Yeah, so, same, Danny. I wish I could remember that, but I honestly can't. Yeah,
and I download every game after the game. I've got 3 seasons, every single game apart from a couple of League Cup games. I've only got highlights. What a collection! All on a hard drive. Never know, if people send me enough money, I might sell it to them. A copy of. Avon says, fails to track his man, Kimmich and Bailey, and it's pretty consistent. He does sometimes come across like somebody's playing beach football where it's all about attack and not having to do the rest of the game. But you learn that as you get older. But the fact he's played 172 games for us, he should really be doing better than that now. But he's still a wonderful player who, if he played for any other Premier League side apart from Man City, would be one of their star players. So
Can I ask you, Danny, just based on the Bayern Munich comment, after the semifinal, did you watch it first and foremost? Because I know some people are like, Arsenal aren't in it, I'm out. Did you watch Bayern Munich versus Real Madrid?
I just realised I made you moderator in the chat. It's not going to help you highlight things.
I tried to click on something and that didn't work. But for those of you live chat, get into the conversation as well. I got to tell you, I think it's...
Yes, I did watch it. No, I didn't watch it. Why didn't I watch it? What was I doing? We were doing a podcast, I think. Was it?
Okay.
It was last... I don't know what I was doing, actually. I don't know who I am.
Here's what I'm going with it. I think we got really wound up in the idea that this is the worst Bayern Munich in history. And we kind of ignored that it was also the best Leverkusen in history. And I think the feeling, the general feeling was Bayern Munich are shit. And we're talking about
Bayern Munich are a poor imitation of Bayern Munich of the last 11 seasons. They're far from shit. I don't know. Know that.
They're far from shit. That's where I'm going. Like, if you saw the games that they had versus Real Madrid, they were far from shit. Very, very far. And one massive controversial call away from being in the final because that offside call that it was. So, look, Avon, I want to be very, very, very brutally transparent with this. I do not recall the game well enough to have an informed opinion on what Martinelli did during that game. But I would like to say that Bayern Munich, like, they push Real Madrid to the limit. I had the sense watching that game that I thought to myself, to be brutally honest with you, Denny, no chance in hell would we still be in title contention had we played a semifinal versus Real Madrid at that level. I think Bayern Munich is substantially better than what people give them credit for. Again, Leverkusen is now 49 games undefeated in every single competition. And sure, they won the league, but when you haven't lost a flipping game in the entire season, I don't feel like that automatically makes the second place team like pushover shit. So I after seeing the two games versus Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, I went away thinking a little bit like, okay, maybe we didn't just shit the bed, but it was also a combination of Bayern Munich still being a relatively really good elite team and in Champions League as well, because we're very naive in that whole setup. But just a little side note on, I know we're kind of dancing around because there's not a lot of key points this game, but we've been up and down, going in and out of this conversation of the actual United Arsenal game. But yeah, after seeing that, my two thoughts were we were never going to make it to the final. And my second thought was, if City and or Arsenal, whichever the two were in that semifinal versus Real Madrid, I think the title would have already been defined.
Well, I like to believe that we could have made the final. Desmorand thinks like me. I am just as proud of this team as our greatest championship winning sides, who were not up against a correct sovereign sports washing conglomerate. Well done, lads. I was saying, I know where I was last Wednesday during the Bayern game. I was out at a restaurant in Peterborough. I mean, those two words should never go together. It's on the edge. It's in Yaxley, so it's doable. Yeah, it's very nice.
Completely agree with Des there, by the way.
Yeah, so I was there. Yeah, me and Mike both agree with you. But like I said at the beginning of the show, Des, if you weren't here, for Arsenal to have gone those few seasons where it's 2 or 3 where we had 8 in a row, to go to this team back-to-back champion, back-to-back runners-up. And there's also something I've brought up here, people. If you didn't know, today was our 27th win of the season. That is the highest number of wins we have ever had in any season. That was goal number 89. That is the highest number of goals we have ever scored in a season, Premier League season. Conceded 28 goals. I'm just looking here. Have we ever conceded? Only twice have we ever conceded less than 28 goals. One was a championship side, and the other one was just the 99 side. Smashing records everywhere we go. The highest win percentage ever, obviously. The highest goals percentage, obviously. Points-wise, 86 points. Have we any seasons where we've got any more than 86? The Invincible season, we got 90. Other than that, it's the second. And the season, the 02 season, which for me was better side than the Invincible side. I had one more point. So if he wins the final game of the season, it's going to be our second best season for points and our first best season for so much stuff. And Mike, we're only getting better, aren't we?
We're only getting better. I think we're closely approaching, in my opinion, the stage of our squad building in which we don't necessarily have to buy 6 players, because we've like Trossard revelation, Timber's coming back. Forgive the pun, but like a new signing. Gabriel, Saliba, Declan Rice, Jorginho. We've had a lot of really good signings. Vieira, you could say the verdict is out. I am a believer that if Arteta trusts you, you'll play more. So I don't necessarily. I'm going to say this. I don't necessarily believe Arteta when he says Smith, Rowe, and Vieira have a place in the squad. And that's just speculation. You know, the manager knows best, and that's just my wild speculation. But what I'm trying to get at is we're only getting better. Not only that our age of the squad is kind of peaking at a really nice place, but we're also kind of getting into a position where we're talking about now, right? We're talking about buying a striker when we got Gabriel Jesus, which was a revelation the last 2 seasons for us. We're talking about not buying necessarily a left back or a defender because we're like, oh my God, our current defender is so shit. We're just fine tuning the squad for depth. And the better our depth gets, I think the better the squad gets, and the more realistically we could try to compete and play for all the titles. And, so we're fine tuning the squad more and more. More players are going to leave, more players are going to come in, and the team between Edu and Arteta gives you all the confidence in the world that we're going to buy right. And sometimes that might be an unpopular purchase, if you will, right? Because there's some players that come to our team in which everybody's like prone to criticize, and that's fine because everybody has opinions on their player. But when Gabriel came in, nobody was expecting Gabriel to be this good. When Jorginho came in, nobody was like expecting him to be this good. There was a lot of people like, I don't know. Kai Havertz got a lot of questions, but they're proving to be good. So our recruitment has been A++ to say the very least. And it's really, really good time to be a Gooner. I'll say this, man. It's shockingly, it's so bittersweet that that we could break so many records and still potentially not win the league. But if you're just looking at stats, the players, the age, the manager, everything kind of indicates that we should pick up a title within the next 3-4 years. And I'll never disregard the League Cup or FA Cup, but I'll say this. When I say meaningful, I'm gonna say a bigger title, a more noteworthy title, a league title, a Champions League. Everything indicates that we're moving in the right direction. You got to remember this, Danny. We discussed Partey, right? But I'm one of the guys that think Partey in our midfield with Declan Rice and Odegaard is our best midfield. We didn't have that midfield for like 30 games of the season. We didn't have Timber for the entirety of the season. So it's just, we're doing this good with these type of players. Nobody would say City didn't have Kevin De Bruyne or Rodri, one of those two, if they were missing for 30 games of the season, everybody would be like, that's a massive loss. So in my eyes, not having Thomas Partey, that's a massive loss. Not having Timber from day one, massive loss. So the fact that this team went this far with 2 probably absolute starters, probably undisputed starters, I think it speaks very well for our squad. And I think things are looking very promising, dude.
SB there, a name I don't think I've seen before. Get that out. Yeah, there is someone who already made the Havertz sorry form. Hold on, I need to go here and then remove that. I redid it, tidied it up, added different answers, the usual ABW of I'm a mushroom. I also made one for Raya. Basically the same thing, copied and just did what they did, but did it better. And also, what was I going to say? Someone put something in the chat and I can't remember what it was. I'd highlighted it. Someone said something. Oh, I was going to say hello to somebody else that I haven't seen before. Levi Orebjork. Wouldn't it be amazing if I got that right? Orebjork.
Bless you.
Sounds Swedish to me. Or somewhere in Scandinavia. Basically all Vikings. All angry Vikings. So they're arguing about whether Timber is injury prone or not. I don't know. This here I'm going to bring up now is, if you'd also be so kind. I mean, everybody loves Mike Hertz, and the people he does the podcast with. You got Sebi, you got Thingy, and you've got Thingy, who's I know one of them does nothing but photos of him smoking cigars. Don't smoke cigars, people. It's not big and it's not clever. And you got the bloke who's got the silver ducting behind him because he lives in the basement of a big building. So there's Mike's podcast. I'm looking at you people. They have got 384 subscribers. Now we've got 72,000 people watching this live. It's not really. It's about 30. Someone, just one of you, just go and subscribe. and then block them, but stay subscribed, just so it makes Mike feel better that he's got an extra someone watching it. But we've been stuck on 7,000, Mike, for 5 years. 5 years. Tom gets more than that in an afternoon.
I mean, coming from me, from two something right now, that seems really impressive, Danny. But you're like, I'm sorry that it's only 7,000.
It never moves.
But yes, Danny, I appreciate the plug as always. If anybody wants to go over there, it's once a week. We often go like 2 hours, but you never get bored of us because it's not a daily thing. Just on that, on the timber, since you highlighted, Danny.
Yes.
Since 2021, which he started recording and being a first teamer within the Ajax squad. 2020, 2021, 8 games combined mix. He missed 8 for, it says Ajax, but that was for coronavirus. Okay, so what I'm getting at, the longest time he's been out has been for 8 games, and that has been over COVID. He's never missed more than 4 games. He missed abdominal pain, seems like precaution for 4 days, missed 1 game. Knock 2 games, knock 2 games, knock 2 games. Injury-free, ill for 1 game for Ajax. Cruciate ligament tear for Arsenal. I think calling him injury-prone might be a little bit of an exaggerated truth. I think it was an incredibly unfortunate thing that happened to him. But if you're looking throughout the entirety of the season, there's a lot of knocks listed. And like abdominal pains, that sounds like he was sick. Inflammation of a pancreas. That doesn't sound. Yeah. So like literally the last thing that you could like look at on paper and say he had a physical issue because of fitness or whatever was hamstring injury, 4 games, 2020, 2021. So personally, just looking at his injury list, I wouldn't qualify him as injury prone. I just think this season, man, it was flipping horrible.
Good. Yes, good to clear that up. Levi says, perfect Swedish. Thank you very much. Boy10 immediately comes and shits on my moment and says, how can Danny land perfect Swedish but struggle with Magalagales? Because I don't speak Portuguese.
My favorite thing is when you used to pronounce the younger players' names and you would say Justin unpronounceable.
Julio unpronounceable.
Yes.
Pelagaloelazuelo, I think is exactly how his mum pronounces it. Rudy says Tommy and Zinchenko can be called injury prone. Yep. Boy 10, it's one big injury. Let Timber cook. He'll be your fave defender by December. They're just talking about that. SB says, do you agree with the 7 players that have apparently been put up for sale, told they can find a new club? Do you know who those 7 are? Because I don't, and I'm just hoping that Partey is one of them.
Top of my head, I don't know if you're including like Cedric and Nenny are 100% going to leave, right? Because they're out of contract.
It's going to be Eddie and Nelson, Ramsdale maybe.
Nelson, Ramsdale, probably Vieira and Smith Rowe runs off at 7.
Smith Rowe, I should think he will be. I mean, you don't have him fit that long and not use him, do you?
Yeah, again, just going back, I keep on going back to the Partey thing. I think Arteta has a hell of a lot more confidence in Partey, despite maybe a lot of supporters having doubts about him versus Smith Rowe, because I forgot who says this, but somebody out there said it and says it a lot on their podcast. But I mean, ultimately the starting 11 will tell you all that you need to know about who he trusts. And the fact of the matter is healthy Partey for the last 2 months has been playing every single game, and Smith Rowe, maybe if you Google search it, you might be able to find that he played 10 minutes somehow, but not a whole lot, man. He's not up there in minutes, and he has been healthy, factually healthy, on the bench, match fit for a few months now, and he only gets a few cameos. So
the last game he played was 11 minutes against Villa, 85 minutes against Luton, 14 minutes against Newcastle, and 6 minutes against Burnley. And that's all he has played in February, March, April, and May.
Yeah, and the Luton game is a bit of an anomaly as well, in the sense that Didn't they
come
have
on for someone?
18 injury? They had like 18 injured players. So that Luton squad
was
the one game within the season that we saw like a wholesale rotation. I think it was like 5 or 6 players that normally wouldn't start. So I think it was Arteta taking advantage of saying, hey, this is almost like a League Cup level team that we're going to play because of all the injuries that they have. And that's what they went with. Yeah.
Right, clear up my notes a little bit. Saka injured, turns out it was okay, but I noticed that when the physio was looking at him, he had a plaster the size of the moon covering his leg where he had been viciously attacked in the last game. Corner came in, Wan-Bissaka jumped up to header it. He did get a head to it. He headed it backwards, and Onana made a split-second save. Otherwise, that would have been an own goal. And then the ball was cleared out to, and he said Pat Rice then, force a habit, Declan Rice, who shot perfectly from outside of the box, an absolute thunder bastard, I think they're called. And that was another great chance. And then 88th minute, another chance to score. Huge mix-up in their box. We had 2 chances, but nobody could get a good angle on it. And then it was then they managed to clear it out. So overall, Mike, sum this game up in one sentence.
Shit. Danny, I mean it, man. If this was not involving Arsenal, I would have most likely turned this game off, to be completely honest. Desmoran added a few names that you and I forgot existed. I forgot Tavares existed, Tierney existed, and Sammy existed.
And Lokonga,
yeah. Yeah, dude. It was a boring game. I can't sugarcoat it in any way. I like I said, if this was any other game, I think at halftime I would have found something else to do. But because it's Arsenal, I was a little bit more invested. And potentially, on the flip side, if you were a neutral fan, maybe you could have found it more enjoyable because both teams were getting into each other's final third, but not a lot of fireworks happening at the bottom at that last ball. I think what kept Arsenal fans intrigued because we had that holy shit, not like this feeling the entirety of the game that any other fan would not have had.
But coming from me as a Gooner they are our number one arch rivals for most of my Arsenal supporting time. To go there, I don't care if it was the shittest game in the world, to go there and win 1-0. We won, clean sheet, on we go. Magnificent result. I don't give a fuck how we play against Man United or Spurs or Liverpool. As long as we beat them, that's all I give a fuck about. RKM, another name I've not seen before. I haven't pre-read this. I hope it's nice. 1-0 to the Arsenal. I'll take it. Whew, that was close. Thank you, RKM.
100%.
How many wins do we have at Man United in the last 20 years? Not many. I'll take it. You was typing that as I was saying it. Desmoran, just listing more players. Archangel has been nice. He's having a good day. He says, well said. Thank you very much, Squire. And Boy10, Jesus also been told he can leave. I read, thank fuck for that.
Your chat has now listed about 16 players for sale. I don't even know.
Need to go.
Declan Rice and Raya are saved. Everybody else can
leave. Everyone else can fuck off. Right, talking of fucking off, Mr. Hertz, you have been outstanding as usual. You are not only my third favorite Mexican podcaster, but you are probably my favorite American because that Yank keeps letting me down.
And
you're not American. I mean, you're not really American, are you? I mean, it just depends on how it suits you. If it's America v Mexico in football, then you're Mexican. If the border agents are looking for you, then you're American. So if Mike Feinberg is looking for you, then you're Guatemalan. Man of many hats, most of which he designed himself. I didn't even plan to say that. That just worked out brilliantly.
I like that plug-in. I mean, we're getting if we do manage to sell 1 or 2 hats, this Etsy seller is going to be over the moon. I'm plugging. I don't know this guy, by the way. I'm not collecting commissions, but I also designed it in red and white. So if somebody wants a red hat, it could also be made in red and white for what's that's worth. I know that you said that I'm your third favorite Mexican. Can I please be your first favorite Mike?
Oh, that's easy.
Oh, that's easy. Oh,
I can't stand the other one.
Oh, that's clippable right there. Thank you, Danny. That's all I need.
FA says, took the title challenge to the last game. Bring on game day 38. Come on, you Gunners.
Hell yeah.
Levi says, we won at Old Trafford. I'm happy. Gary has finally turned up. Hello, hello. Des Moran has just listed some more players. We've got a couple of quick questions. Pete Colson says, Paul Merson has said that he will get a Spurs tattoo on his arse if Spurs draw against City. What extreme act would you do if the Spuds draw on Tuesday? Absolutely nothing.
That is insane to make a statement that you would get something. I mean, I guess he could have it removed, but speaking of experience, Danny, having a tattoo removed versus having a tattoo done, 10 times worse on the pain scale. I got to tell you, having a tattoo removed is not good, but you know what's funny is I have about 3 Arsenal accounts saying if Spurs takes points off of City, I'll buy a jersey or something. And I have them on my bookmarks and I'm just ready to just have fun with those if it comes to it. But the craziest one I've seen out there is buying a Richarlison shirt and wearing it to the Arsenal pub in the last game of the season.
No.
If Spurs managed to do it. You know, I had a really nasty thought right now, Danny.
Ooh.
And that was if Paul... He said he'll get a tattoo if Spurs draw, right? But I think we only have 5 more goals on City on the differential. I was just thinking, like, what if Spurs tie and then just City smash like West Ham? So like Paul Merson ends up with a Spurs tattoo, and then we fuck it up on goal difference. That would be the most insane shit ever.
That would be terrible. Another one from Pete says, what moment this season has irked you the most? He says his was the push on Gabriel. The offside goal was awarded to Newcastle. I'm going to say our performance against Aston Villa. Absolutely unbelievable that Emery came and did us twice. Took 6 points off us this season. Unreal. And he did it last season. Well, he got at least, I think he beat us last season. He's got his foot on Arteta's neck and he's not letting it off. And that's a shame because all we needed was to draw both of those games or win one of them, and then we'd be champions. And I bet he's got that printed and on a tattoo on his ass.
Yeah, I hate that. So I hate feeling that way. It's inevitable because you're a supporter and you start thinking about the points dropped. But you know, a random account. Then I read this like weeks ago. You know, we often say we lost this game, we drew this game, but, you know, also a last minute winner versus Luton. You know, like we also had a few at the death type of games. So it's really difficult for me to like pinpoint. I guess it's easy to pinpoint loss. You know, I'll tell you this, Danny, I'm more frustrated with the first loss versus Aston Villa because if you go back and look at those stats, I'm sure we demolished that team, that game, and we didn't win. And at home, it was far more even, to the point where even Ollie Watkins came out after the game and said, yeah, we even had more legs than them, despite having like a day or so less rest. So I think that was more frustrating. The Newcastle is such a great shout, man, because you know how they always say if the ref gives it, you know, there's not enough evidence for VAR to overturn it. The most frustrating part of that with Kai Havertz bringing it down is that the ref, whoever it was, saw X-ray visioned himself through 3 flipping players and said, oh, that's a handball. And it was a complete guess. Like he just completely made, like, I guess that ball hit Havertz. And because of that, my on-field decision is handball. And I think that's so frustrating how that goal did not stand. And it was that's probably one of the more controversial ones of the season. But I don't know. I mean, I think Fulham, like Paulinho missed kicking it into our net was like baffling as well, you know. Yeah, I can't remember. And you know what? You put up the December one. I'm thinking
We dropped 11 points in 5 games.
Yeah, that's the December. Yeah, it's the December run that we had.
That's
so
just
weird,
December.
man. And then
December.
You know, from now on, next season, let's visit Dubai early December instead of early July. instead of early January, I think we'll recharge our batteries for December.
3 weeks that ruined our season. We should never have lost to Fulham, never lost to West Ham. Liverpool, fair enough, and lost to Villa away. So I think I agree with Boyton.
Just on that point, Danny, and other than at home versus Aston Villa and live chat, tune in if you could remind me. Speaking about league position just in general, if you look about the 4 or 5 games that we lost, I think 4 out of those 5 games, if you just go back and Google search the stats, and maybe I'm remembering them wrong, Danny, we deserve to win those games.
I've got it up on the screen here. 1-0 at Newcastle, Villa 2-0, 1-0, Fulham 2-0, and West Ham 2-0. I mean, look at those results.
Yeah, like West Ham, I'm 100% sure if you go to the shots, I'm sure we did like at least 15 more shots than them. Fulham dominated them. Aston Villa at their place dominated them. Okay, Newcastle, that was a pretty evenly matched, well fought out game. That was when, if I'm not mistaken, Kai Havertz started on the right, and he kind of started endearing himself because of his physical nature, so his aggressive nature, if you will. It's really frustrating, man, because if you do go back to those 5 losses, I feel fairly confident that 3 or 4 of those were just so undeserved to loss. Like, we went through such a long patch of our season in which us shooting ourselves in the foot was the only way we lose those games. And yeah, when you have like 8 shots on target and you don't put the ball in the net, so frustrating, man.
It is indeed. Right, I think that's it. We are all done. 1 hour, 11 minutes and 3 seconds. Wonderful. So thank you very much to everybody in the chat. You've been really good today, considering the weather's nice, and you should all be out there making the most of it, because England, as we saw in the Man United game, at the end of it, the heavens opened. There was thunder, there was lightning. It was very, very frightening. Thank you very much to Mike. Again, Mike, tell everybody your Twitter username and a little bit about your podcast, because I had a look and none of them could be fucked to go and subscribe to your podcast.
Horrible live chat. I'm so disappointed. Horrible. I don't know what I'm going to do with y'all. It's called Not Another Arsenal Podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and the YouTubes. I always tell people, if you guys can, even if you just listen to us on audio and Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
You are one of the few that I actually subscribe to on my own channel. You, Sophie, the Mike's one, Harry, Tom, Gary's one, I think. There's about 6 or 7, and that's it.
That's good company right there. I appreciate that. But yeah, I was gonna say, if you tend to like audio more, I would appreciate the subscription on YouTube, because it allows us to run polls and other shenanigans. We're not trying to monetize it, but it would be nice to gain use of the community tab and polls. It's something that we're not allowed to do until we hit, I think, 500 subscribers. So any subscriber helps. Not Another Arsenal Podcast, once a week. We're slackers in the summer, because, to be completely honest with all your listeners, I'm not somebody that puts on a podcast for the sake of putting on a podcast. Like, I don't want to talk about the 5th week in a row that we're linked to Declan Rice. So we're slackers in the summertime. And I saw that you put the link in there in your live chat. Really do appreciate that. But once a week podcast, either Tuesday or Wednesday.
You've had one.
Hey, look at that. Danny's working his magic.
Do you know you can actually go and see who it was?
Can you really?
Yeah.
Oh, Danny's about to call you guys all out.
Oh, no, I can't. You can.
Just send me in there and call you guys all out.
You can only do it with your own channel.
He said, just subscribe, Mike. Really appreciate that, man. So we podcast at silly times in the UK. So it's like 3-4 o'clock in the morning over there. But you could always catch us on the replay. Appreciate the support for any of you guys that do subscribe. Really appreciate it.
Yes. So it's always nice just to here you go. Is the link for my one. ABW's subscribers. Nope. Of course not, because that would be fucking helpful if YouTube actually kept the same link that was working 6 months ago. No, let's go and change the link. Who needs the same link? Nobody needs the same link. It's just dickheads trying to. Oh, you've had another one. You're up to 286 now. Very fine processor.
Look at that, man. You're working your magic, man. You know what? It's always. I got to tell you, Danny. the podcast often gets tagged with like Tom Canton in our blog, and you, Sophie at Highbury Squad. You guys are always praising us, and I've always kind of felt like, my goodness, what do I do for such big, names and within the podcasting
real
community? So I really do appreciate it when you guys give me a shout out. And sometimes, like I said, I'll get tagged like, these are the only 3 I listen to, and I'm like, for fuck's sake, how do you listen to Arsenal Vision and Arsblog and then you come to us? That's what crosses my mind.
I don't listen to either of them.
Yeah. It's funny. Like I said, it's really nice to be in the mix of those names versus other, I'm going to say, a little bit more hyperbolic.
So I think for me, I like to watch podcasts. I've got 2 screens here, and so I'll have you lot on, or because the time of night you do it, I'm in bed and I'll have it up on the big screen. And I like to watch people do podcasts. The only podcast I listen to that I don't watch is the AC Jimbo one. And if he's not on, I won't watch it. It's just weird. So yeah, I just like to watch them. I just like to see people. I don't like to listen to them. Same with Joe Rogan. I'll only watch his. I won't listen to them.
That's funny you say that, Danny, because I spent so much time. Joe Rogan, when he went to Spotify exclusively for a while, I forgot that he existed, because Spotify for me, I have a Spotify subscription, but I exclusively use it for music. And when he came back to YouTube, I'm like, oh, he's still podcasting. Cool. Like literally, like he fell off the map for me entirely.
You missed a lot of good podcasts.
Yeah, for me, Spotify is exclusively music based.
No,
and it doesn't even register that I'll listen to a podcast. But so yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that.
Yes, it's I like to watch people. Oh, Tom Andrews just subbed as well. You won't regret it. They are 4 genuinely lovely people. And really Sebi is a master of Photoshop. Just follow them. We should follow them all on Twitter. I follow all 4 of them.
Yeah. If you're on Twitter, look, one of them is Chris, West Suburban AFC. Kelly is South Metro AFC. And Sebi is SebiV21, all on Twitter. And they're all remarkable follows for their own reason. Kelly is ridiculously witty. After, I'm sure my mate Chris has not watched the United game because he's at his mother's house, because he won't Google search. He wants to stay off the radar, but he's going to watch the game. And if you follow West Suburban AFC, he is going to banter the holy shit out of every single United fan out there. And I sit back and enjoy it. I'm probably the most boring Arsenal account out there between the 3, because my mate Sebi also does like these incredible memes, inserting Arsene Wenger into movies and shows and stuff like that. And
I said, half now.
I'm probably the most boring guy to follow on Twitter. I'll retweet the crap out of your stuff, but don't often tweet my own stuff. But them 3, man, good fun to say the very least.
Yes, indeed. Right, time to shut up and go away. No idea what day there will be a podcast midweek. Hopefully there will be one, but people are very flaky at the moment. Yes, they. I set up a new ABW group at Christmas, ABW 2024, thinking, whole new group of people. They'll all turn up all the time. No. I've come to the conclusion, people are unreliable, mostly. Some that aren't, but a lot of people are. And I'm used to the days of ABW. 7 of us every week, all 7 available for every show, week after week after week. Now, not so much. Right, on those wise words, I'm going to go. Thank you very much, Mike. You've been lovely.
Thank you so much, man. Like I said, anytime our schedule's lined up, I enjoy talking football with you.
Jolly good. Thank you very much to everybody in the chat. You have been wonderful as well. This has been a Bergkamp Wonderland. Go out and make the last of this lovely summer's evening. Go out for a walk. Take the dog for a walk. Steal your neighbour's dog. Take it for a walk. And we will see you hopefully sometime during the week for another podcast. I think we'll have an outro of Anfield 89. It's back on. Come on, you Gunners.
Out it goes to Lee Dixon. Long ball from Lee Dixon. Smith will hold it up. Plays it square to Thomas. And Thomas goes inside Nickel. And Thomas is there. And Thomas has scored. for Arsenal. In injury time, Michael Thomas has scored for Arsenal. A ball played through the gap. Thomas was there. He held off 2 challenges, kept his head. By my watch, we are a minute and a half into injury time.